Hello and welcome to the Rabblecast. My name is Eric Hernandez, and you are listening to episode number 593. I think it is. Yeah, well, I don't know. Double check me. Let's see what happens. As you can tell, it's me by myself once again. It's going to be this way for a little while, so bear with me. So we'll see what happens. Another episode by myself in this large room, and I'm just trying to figure out how to bring you more interesting content, because I don't want to bore you to death. Unless you want me to bore you to death, then I might do some special episodes on the side. I don't know. No, I'm not. On this episode, I decide to try to give you some suggestions of what's going on. I know we're all still going through this very interesting moment in time, living through this weird crisis, and sometimes it's difficult to find things to do or find things to keep you busy. So I try to find a bunch of things that I was doing, some different series or movies or stuff on YouTube or different streaming apps that might, get you through this for the time being. Also, I'm going to reiterate this because I talk about it on the episode itself. If you're going through a tough time right now and you're home and you're by yourself or you're with family and things are just getting a little too much to handle, please reach out to people. Reach out to your family, reach out to your friends. Look for advice or suggestions. It's a very, very difficult time that we're going through. And if you're not prepared for what's happening right now, not like anybody could have been leading up to this, but if you're having that difficult of a time, please reach out and find some help. There are people out there that are listening. There are people that want to help you out. As I said later on this episode, you don't have to suffer through this alone. It doesn't have to be any worse than it currently is. It can get better. You can find something that helps you get through this. So please reach out, talk to somebody, and hopefully we can all get through this. So with that said, I have to go through the obligatory plugs. We are brought to you by InsidePulse.com. You can find us under the podcast section. You can also find the show over at Rabblecast.Libsyn.com. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rabblecast. Check us out on Facebook for the Rabblecast Facebook fan page for different news and links. Again, I will try to post up more stuff. Tweet us at Rabblecast and email us, rabblecast@gmail.com. Again, if you have any stories or pictures or anything that you want to share with us, anything that you might be going through right now with as far as this crisis is concerned, things that might be a little uplifting and positive, feel free. I mean, I'd love to, share with you. And maybe if you say I'm allowed to, I'll share with the show. Again, you don't have to go through this. We're all trying to have fun. We're all trying to find a way to divert our attention from the everyday right now and just enjoy the time that we do have. With that said, it's a long episode. It's all me talking into the microphone, into this large room. All I ask is have some fun and enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try a different setup, so please bear with me as this whole thing. It's going to become a new experiment. I'm going to try different things, different setups, see what sounds best, and what's easier to use just for my sake and hopefully yours. Hopefully this improves a little bit. I did get a few people saying that, hey, you had a little buzz. Not, I say that in a weird way. There was a little, it's called a ground loop. That little humming or buzzing sound that you heard last week. And it's something that I thought I eliminated in my setup before I recorded, but I was wrong. So again, I'm going to try a few different things, eliminate some cables, eliminate some equipment, mix some equipment, see what happens. But that's just really for the audiophiles out there that are complaining and saying, hey, you should try this. Okay, I'm trying some different things. We're still dealing with a very weird situation with the pandemic that's going on. I know a lot of people are still struggling. My heart goes out to you. I know that really doesn't mean much or do much, but I am thinking about a lot of the different people that unfortunately just are struggling and just trying to make ends meet and trying to keep their wits about them. If you're lucky to be at home with your family and you can provide for them, hopefully through savings or hopefully through some other means, maybe your family or friends can help you out, fantastic. But if you're having a tough time and the bills keep coming in and you're just trying to make sure that things are just being held together. There's a bunch of reports of they were saying that divorce rates look like they're going up. Relationships are being strained because, you think you move in with somebody and that you're comfortable with them, and a few weeks locked together with them. I know there's a lot of memes that go around on social media that say, would you be able to live in this cabin, no internet, no TV? We'll give you $50,000 or whatever the case is for a month. Would you take it? And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, sure, without a doubt, easily. And we're seeing just like weeks into this whole crisis that's not the case for a lot of people. People want to get outside. People want to do things. They're just not I guess the stay-at-home homebody or introverted types. And those are the people that are going out there right now and just trying to get some fresh air, clear the head a little bit. Trust me, I get it. I'm very fortunate in my situation that I know it's going to sound very saccharine that where I say that I married my best friend, and I did. Jen and I get along very well. We have very similar interests, similar upbringings in the sense of video games and comic books and movies and everything like that. We strike a chord with one another, and that we share similar fandoms. But a lot of people out there, sometimes they won't marry for similar interests. They won't marry for similar personality types. They'll go for looks or jobs or income, and sometimes that's can be short-sighted. Or, who knows? Maybe they're trying to play the long game and they just never saw a pandemic come their way. What it comes down to is what I'm saying is hang in there, because it's going to be a while. From the way that things are looking, it's going to be a while before things go back to what we knew. I'm not going to even say normal anymore. It's going to go a while before we get back to what we knew and how we did things. Again, I've been fortunate. I've been called back to work. Things are going well. I'm just trying to now prioritize different things so that I can sit down, talk, and do this. I'm here by myself again in this large room, just trying to make heads or tails of different situations. Otherwise, I really can't complain. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now. I really can't complain. It's not about me. It's not about this one location, this one family. It's about all of us. It's about how we can make it through, and hopefully, again, like I said last week, hopefully we can help one another. If somebody asks for something, if somebody needs something, hopefully friends and family can pitch in to help out. Because right now is the time to really make sure that we can get this done. Make sure that we can sit down and just stay in place, but try to help one another. So that's my little PSA for the day, I'd say. Otherwise, if you are at home, I'm going to go over a few things that hopefully might help people out there. If you're at home and you've got access to streaming services or different things that you might like, try some video games. I know that a lot of people are saying that, video games aren't my thing. Now might be the time to give a few a shot. Xbox and PlayStation, they from time to time give out free games for their customers, for members of their services. Some are classics, some are some newer games or independent titles. You never know. Let's see, what was the one that recently just downloaded? I think PlayStation was offering the Drake's Uncharted video game, Drake's Adventure, I don't know, I never played them. Uncharted Territory, were some of the games that they were offering. I know Xbox was offering a couple different ones as well. Again, just something to sit down and play. I've been going through my library of games and trying to check out a few things here and there. I've been a big fan of the game Anthem from BioWare, which did not have the greatest launch about a year ago, and fell really short as far as content's concerned. But as far as game mechanics and the environment that you play in, I was hooked. And you can blow through the campaign pretty quickly, and you can, trick out all the different javelins, the different mech suits that you wear. You're essentially Iron Man, is what's going on. You're Iron Man in an exotic world, and you jump into this large exosuit, and you can just blast off, go flying around these weird, like, jungle-like environments and caves and caverns, and take on different factions and different enemies. It's a lot of fun. And there is a lot of talk that they're going to be doing a 2.0 version of the game, because after the initial release and bugs and glitches and shortcomings, BioWare has said, hey, look, we are pledged to making this game right. We wanted to make this game right from the get-go. Didn't happen. I'm not going to get into the whole controversy between BioWare, EA, the fans. I like the game. I bought it upon release. I got the collector's edition. I probably paid way too much for what it is. But you want to know what? I still play it from time to time. I still have fun. I can get lost for a hour doing missions, flying through a world that's strange and exciting. And after that, I can say, all right, I'm done. I've done my challenges and my accomplishments for the day. Let me move on to something else. So Anthem is one of the games that I tried quite a bit. I know a lot of fans have jumped back into games like Halo or Command and Conquer well, not Command and Conquer specifically, but Call of Duty is what I'm looking for. First-person shooters. A lot of people have jumped back into those because you can jump into the deathmatch games, go in, have some fun, run and shoot, or run and gun, if you will, and have a lot of fun with that. I have yet to go back to those myself, only because I used to play those when I went through one of my bouts of unemployment. And let me tell you, that game can suck away your day. It's amazing how much time you can waste on running and gunning. Let's see some of the other games we play. One of my friends got me the Mega Man X collection. Thank you, Dan. Mega Man X collection 1 and 2. For the lighter Mega Man X games, I'm not as well versed. I do have to go back every now and then and look up things or double check things. But the game Mega Man X itself, I've thought about from time to time doing a live stream of it on one of the gaming channels, be it Mixer or Twitch. I don't know, take your pick. But I've thought of sitting down and trying to see what I can do in terms of the game. There was a story that I wish I could do it again, but I was at my cousin's house, and this was somewhere in my mid-20s, early 20s. We were staying up late. Everybody else was, getting drunk or doing whatever in the other rooms, and I just found one room where one of the guys was hanging out, and they only had 2 games they had on their Super Nintendo. And they had the game Top Gear, not the TV show, but the actual racing game Top Gear on Super Nintendo, and Mega Man X. So when the one kid was done playing Top Gear, he was getting top times in all the different races. That game was fun in and of itself and another time sucker. But I sat down and started playing Mega Man X. And unbeknownst to me, my younger cousin was there along with a bunch of other people that started gathering around me as I played the game. They were talking amongst themselves and making jokes or whatever the case is and having fun watching me play. But then when I got to the very end, I got all the different heart tanks, I got the energy tanks, I beat all the evil bosses, went through the evil fortress, took on Sigma, even got the super special Hadouken, the secret fireball that you can only get through a secret way. Once I went through all of that, I beat the game and the credits started rolling. And I don't remember if it was my cousin or one of the other guys that started chuckling to themselves. He goes, dude, you just beat the entire game from start to finish without dying once. And I said to myself, really? Holy shit, really? Okay. I didn't notice that. Back then I could play it like the back of my hand. I can still play the game pretty well. Before the pandemic hit, before everything started going down, Dan himself was over and was watching me play. We were staying up late one night, and I was using an Xbox controller, not a Super Nintendo controller. And oh boy, was my timing off. And my jumps were horrible. My attack strategies just did not gel as well as they would on the Super Nintendo. But hey, it's been a few years. It's a different controller. We'll see. Maybe it's one of the things that I toss around. You go back to the classics. You go back to the games that you know and love and try to have some fun with those. Another game, PUBG. I know everybody loves Fortnite, but PUBG is the more realistic version of the gigantic deathmatch online games. You can go online and it's like you and 100 other people and you have to try to survive to the very end. PUBG is a very friendly game. For those who don't know, it's Players Unknown Battleground. That's a fun game. One of the developers of that game, I believe, was forgetting the name now, but one of the guys came from another team that developed a similar type of game. It was a zombie game where you had to survive until the very end. You could build fortresses or little shacks, whatever the case is, and hopefully try to keep yourself sheltered while everybody else would scavenge the other players' bodies for weapons and gear, whatever the case is. PUBG was one of those games that became really popular. I think, I don't know if it was a free download initially or you had to buy into the beta, whatever the case was. I got hooked due to our one friend Tiny. He mentioned it. I tried it out. I liked it a lot. I tried Fortnite myself, and I don't know. It just didn't click with me. I like the cartoon style, but the gameplay was a little bit different. The fact that you can start building walls to shelter yourself and literally just like build a staircase or a structure to get away from your opponent as they're attacking you just didn't seem very exciting to me. That, and just about every time I landed in the game, both games you start off in PUBG, they have a huge airplane and everybody parachutes out of, and you just try to land on a certain part of the map and buy in weapons and take shelter and hopefully survive to the very end as the play zone starts to get smaller and smaller. Fortnite has a very similar thing where you jump out the party bus that flies through the air, and as you come down and you try to find something, again, another place on the map, I've had instances where I've landed on a building or in a town and I get taken out like within a minute. It sucked all the fun out of it for me. I tried again here and there, even when they had some of the special events, and for me, it didn't hit for me. So I can see why the younger crowd got really into it and it became a big phenomenon. But if I was going to pick between the two, PUBG for me. Let's see what else. Like I was saying before, if you have streaming services available to you, if you can watch things through your respective consoles, or I know a lot of people have the smart TVs nowadays, you can sit there. Oh God, I sound old now. Forgive me. But if you have TV that's capable with Roku, YouTube, Netflix, whatever the case is, preloaded, or apps that you can download, you can check out a bunch of different things. Myself, I was on a Star Trek kick again for whatever reason. I said, hey, Star Trek: The Next Generation's on Netflix. Let me start from the beginning, and I'll see what I can get through. And I got through quite a bit, and I was surprised. I finished the entire seasons, 7 seasons, which I remembered a bunch of different episodes. I've seen them before growing up. I would catch them on TV as they would air in reruns, but then I also caught a lot of new episodes that were completely new and fascinating to me, and filled in a lot of different gaps in the storyline. And then I jumped over to Deep Space Nine because I figured just keep rolling with the continuity, being that those came out one after the other. In fact, those overlapped a little bit at one point. But then Deep Space Nine itself would run for 7 seasons. I know also on Netflix they currently have Star Trek Voyager, which was the next one, also overlapped a little bit with Deep Space Nine. And then you have Enterprise, which was the next one chronologically as far as release. But Enterprise was the prequel series to the original Star Trek series itself. So for anybody who's a geek or nerd or just wants to watch some sci-fi, that's available for you. I mean, I just some examples of different things. Some other stuff that, again, because I was home for a little bit before they called me back for work, I finally got a chance to watch The Wire on HBO. 5 seasons of it. I started, I think, about a year ago when I was originally let go from my one job. I was able to sit down and watch and enjoy, I think, a season or 2 of The Wire while I was looking for work. And just recently I sat down and just drove through the last season of it. And man, that's an amazing series. And I kick myself for not watching it a lot sooner for a few different reasons. One, the storyline's amazing. And sadly, it reflects a lot of the recent events out in the Baltimore, Maryland area. But the way it was told through the eyes of the police force, the different politicians, chief police captains and all that, the drug dealers, the kids on the street, the kids in the schools, all that stuff was both fascinating from a storytelling standpoint and tragic as all hell to hear that this is the reality that some of the people that live out there have to deal with. And I know it's a lot of it can be sensationalized and exaggerated through a TV show. I get that, but I was watching it through the perspective of storytelling. I was watching it through the idea of seeing all these different actors that have gone on to many different projects and many different TV roles and film roles. was amazing. And Dominic West, obviously, as one of the characters on there, Detective James McNulty, or Jimmy, as they would refer to him as. Um, I didn't realize that Dominic West was so prominent in the show when I first heard about it, but now it makes sense as to how he got more work later on, as he would pop up in different things. Keep in mind, this is like, what, back '02 this movie came out, or the show came out. Concluded in, what was it, '08, I believe? Yeah, it ran from '02 to '08, and ran for 60 episodes. It's crazy. Some of the other different actors that appeared, Dominic West, Lance Reddick, Wendell Pierce, Sonia Sun, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Seth Gilliam, who would go on to be on The Walking Dead for a while, Dominic Lombardozzi, who's been popping up quite a bit in a lot of HBO projects, Andre Royo, who would play Bubbles, Michael Kenneth Williams, better known as Omar from the show. He's gone on to be a permanent actor in a lot of different movies. When they did Boardwalk Empire on HBO, he came back as Chalky. He was supposed to have a role in the Han Solo movie that was put out a few years back, but due to reshoots, his role was eliminated. I know that, and you can just go through the entire cast of people on the wire. Even Idris Elba, a young Idris Elba, say younger, did amazing work. Michael B. Jordan, another one that popped up very young, and all these people have gone on to be in different TV and film roles, and it's amazing to see them back then work. This is so if it aired in '08, 12 years after the fact, and a lot of these people have continued working, putting out some great stuff, portraying amazing characters. So that's another thing that I did. I didn't think I was going to like The Wire, but I've also recognized that whenever something gets immensely popular, I usually shy away from it because I don't want to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, and I might come back to it when some of the popularity dies down. And I'm happy that I was able to do that with The Wire, and I was pleasantly surprised and blown away by what they could do. And HBO has had really great runs with a number of different series. If you go back and watch The Sopranos, one that I was watching recently was oh good Lord, what's the name of it? It was a recent show. I'm going to look it up right now as I'm talking to you all. It was another one that was portrayed out in New York, and I was watching it. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I was watching it while I was on a business trip last year, and I remember just going, "Wow, this is a lot of fun." The Deuce, that's the name of the show. Another one that I was pleasantly surprised, because again, they're taking moments. That one was more back towards the '70s in New York, where they would try to show you what the streetwalkers were like, how the police handled prostitution, the beginning of adult films in that area, and how the different starlets were treated. Eye-opener, for sure. Again, certain things sensationalized, certain things exaggerated. Certain points in history and actual history were used for anchors in the story. But James Franco playing his character, and also the twin brother of the character, so pulling double duty on that one for a project of his, was fun. Was fun in that idea that you got a glimpse into that world. So if that's another one you want to check out, obviously Game of Thrones is another one that people you can watch, whether you like or dislike the ending. That's a very divisive topic, so we'll just leave it at that. For what it was, Game of Thrones leading up to the final season was a fun adventure, so long as you don't mind the adaptation from the books. If you love the books, if you're a diehard fan, then maybe you might want to avoid it, because they did have to change a lot of different things. A lot of different characters were either omitted or combined to other characters. Whole different thing. But that happens with any time that you take a story that has so many different characters in the literature, and when they translate to the movie or TV show in this case, just doesn't make it. Bunch of other ones that are going on out there. Jen and I just decided to sit down recently, and because we're on the Star Trek kick, we watched Star Trek Picard, with the return of Patrick Stewart and a number of other characters and actors and new characters. And I believe it was a 10-episode run, 8 or 10, I can't remember off the top of my head. And that was an amazing show. It was not. It was amazing in the respect of the Star Trek Next Generation show. It was very similar in that vein. It didn't have a lot of the excitement and action that I was hoping for. But then again, it's Star Trek. What are you expecting? They're not known for their, immense choreographed fight scenes or their epic star battles. Those are left to other franchises at times. And if you want, amazing battle scenes, go to Netflix Daredevil. Hallway and stairway scene are epic enough on their own. So Picard was nice to see a lot of the different characters come back. You get to see what the characters have gone on and done. You see, obviously, Captain Picard, Commander Riker, Data. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. 7 of 9 show up, and a bunch of other characters join the cast as well. And it was fun to see the progression. It was fun to see, the time jump from then at the end of the Next Generation show to now, especially if you count the movies. It was fun. It was fun in that respect, and everything has that cinematic quality to it now. The way it's shot, the way it's framed, the special effects have all gotten better. So it's nice to see the update of that show. And with that, Jen and I also started watching Star Trek Discovery, which is the brand new series. That's both of these are on CBS All Access. You have to, again, another streaming app or channel that you have to get. But if you can try it out or even try the free month that they give you initially, it's worth it. It really is. You get a chance to enjoy it for what they have, see if you like it or not, and then opt out or opt in depending on what you want. Star Trek Discovery, on the other hand, has a lot of action. They know that they are dealing with a new audience, hopefully a younger generation of fans, and they want to hook you. So not only do they have a cinematic quality to it, but it also has the action, it has the adventure that you're looking for. So there's more fight scenes, more starship battle scenes. That gets really interesting because it's a little bit more action compared to what you would normally see in Star Trek. What's interesting for this one is that where Picard takes place way after the Next Generation, way after Voyager, Deep Space Nine, all those, because the characters are much older and they play into that. Discovery takes place, I believe, before the Next Generation, but after the original Star Trek. So you get to see what the older technology would look like. It's supposed to look like the future, but it's older tech in that continuity. So they try to downplay it a little bit as far as what they can do. They still have the flip open communicators, some of the different things. The weapons are not quite the same. And you still hear that little sci-fi chime in the background when they're on the bridge. And you have that little whistle that you would hear when the captain has to try to give an announcement over the PA. But I think that's also in the Next Generation as well. So that's just more like more Naval Academy kind of stuff that you would expect. But those are just some examples of we watched recently. Again, Netflix, there's a bunch of different things, comedy specials, documentaries. A lot of people were saying that because of what we're going through, hey, you should watch a lot of pandemic movies. Okay. I don't know if I want to get into the darker Hollywood exaggerations of what we could go through, but a movie like Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman and Cuba Gooding Jr., that's one that was really prevalent all the way back when the Ebola outbreak happened. Not the more recent one, but years ago. Let's see what else. Contagion was a really, really dark dive into the pandemic and how things could happen. And a lot of people say that, you watch that and you know what you're going through now. You can't go back and watch those kind of movies because it hits too close to home. And it's very true. It's that's really a bridge that you're gonna have to cross when you get to it. Can you watch a movie like 28 Days Later, it's a zombie apocalypse movie, granted, but it's the same thing. An infection breaks out and people are having to deal with different things, and who can you trust, and is somebody infected? Are they infected? So that's a touchy subject, I think. When this whole first started, as far as the crisis is concerned, I think it was more of a joke, like a dark humor, gallows humor. But now I think it's becoming a little bit harder for people to go out there. Now, don't get me wrong. There are fans who love horror, suspense, and thriller. Maybe that's right up their alley. But a lot of people that I know that talk about movies, when these movies come up, they're like, "Oh no, I don't think I could sit and watch one of those." Not after what I've heard and what I've seen on the news and on the internet. I get it. It's not it's not easy to go and sit through a lot of these movies now. So that's why I'm trying to give some other suggestions that maybe you might want to check out. I know Venom was recently put up on video on demand on, I think, on Stars. So you can probably rent that one, probably from like iTunes, whatever the case is, whatever your service might be. For me, I have been watching a number of different apps. If we don't have the app itself, I might do like a trial run, or if a friend happens to send me a text message with some information in it, maybe I'll peruse a few things here and there. Just saying. One that I did find recently was an app called Tubi, Tubi. For fans of 80s cartoons, it's got a plethora of bunch of different cartoons. I currently have on in the background Generation 1 Transformers, because why not? It's something that I watched when I was younger. I enjoyed. It's like a comfort food almost for my brain. It's always fun to watch the old animation and hear the old voice actors portray all the different characters. Along with Transformers, they have pretty much the entire run of Transformers animated. So they have Generation 1, which also includes all 4 seasons. Then you have Beast Wars, Beast Machines, what was the other ones? Transformer Prime, animated, Rescue Bots, a bunch of different ones that were released throughout the years. Mostly from the 80s are all on there. G.I. Joe is on here. Cops, or it was also known as Future Cops, with characters like Berserko, Bulletproof Vest, Big Boss, all those weird cliched characters, but if in a futuristic form. Those are on there as well. You can just catch a bunch of different cartoons, also a bunch of different TV shows, movies. There's a bunch of old classic horror movies, some newer ones as well, independent films, foreign films. It's just another one of those apps where you can watch. I mean, granted, there's commercials here and there that you have to sit through every now and then, but it's worth it because you get to see a lot of cool stuff that is not on a bunch of other streaming services. So a lot of the popular ones out there: Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime, I know, released a bunch of different children's programming for free, and that was very generous of them. That helps out quite a bit. Amazon Prime has their own original programming or movies series you can check out. And I know, what was it, like 6 months to a year ago, we were talking about the glut of all these different streaming services. Everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. Before you used to watch Doctor Who on Netflix when it had its resurgence, but then the BBC said, screw that, why are we gonna license out our show when we can just make our own streaming service and release it ourselves? Now it almost seems like a godsend to have all these different streaming services, because you can have a variety of different things. You don't have to subscribe to all of them. You don't have to go crazy and watch all of the different programming on each one. It's like channel surfing back in the day. Try out the free trial, see what they have, check out the originals, see if they have something that really interests you. If not, then go on to the next one. Let me think. In our household, we have, just on the pins that we've checked out, I know I have my Netflix subscription. I think we let Hulu go for a little bit. So Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Tubi's a free one. CBS, we're trying the free trial for CBS All Access. HBO Go comes with subscription that I currently have to TV and cable. So shows like Westworld I've been watching recently, and that's been a lot of fun. Although the 3rd season has taken quite a bit of a turn that I was expecting, but also so did the 2nd season. So that's another one you can watch. What happens if man builds a world, or I should say, man builds, imagine Disneyland filled with a bunch of androids, and they all just run through pre-programmed story loops, but eventually all those memory wipes or rewriting of programs or storylines, you don't always get rid of all the data, and eventually the robotic hosts, as they refer to them as, start glitching out or start remembering some of their past and realize that, hey, I'm just here to service a bunch of humans, and they can be violent pricks and really rude people when they come through, and fuck, we're not going to take this anymore. That's essentially where it starts, and then it gets really, really weird from there. It's a continuation of the old movie Westworld. So if you're a fan of the old movie itself, there's some Easter eggs in the first two seasons, and then from there, third season gets really, really interesting. I'm trying to think of some of the other streaming services out there. I'd be remiss to mention streaming service Shudder, which is for all you horror fans. I only know this because Doug had mentioned it back in the day. I know when this whole crisis began, they were offering like a free month of Shudder. I don't know if that's the case. Check them out anyway if you like horror movies or into, monster slasher films and that type. Because who knows, they still might have a free month or free trial that you can check it out and hopefully find something that that might interest you again. If you like the Nightmare on Elm Streets, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Michael Myers movies, Hellraiser. Those are the only the top ones I can think of off the top of my head. If Doug was here, I'm sure he could run off a whole bunch of other different franchises or movies that you could check out. And here's another one since we're talking about movies, and it always goes hand in hand with independent films or smaller films. The Mahoning Drive-In. They are based out in PA. We've mentioned them quite a bit on this show. I have yet to go. I've only seen the website. I've only seen the pictures on their social media. I really, really want to go. And with everything going on this year, I was hoping that I was actually going to be able to get a chance to go out there and enjoy maybe a weekend of movies. It almost made sense, especially since right now, with social distancing, they say 6 feet apart. What better than to go to a drive-in, get there, pull up, tune in your radio to whatever station or whatever frequency you had to, so you get the audio for the film, and you could stay in your car. You wouldn't have to worry about going out and sitting next to people in a regular movie theater. Well, the Mahoning Drive-In has posted on their social media that they are going to postpone or delay their opening for the time being, which is very, very commendable and respectable on their part. With everything going on right now, the stay-at-home orders, trying to keep people safe, trying to mitigate the spread of the virus, they decided, hey, look, we want to do this, but we also want to keep our patrons and our workers and family safe. So for the time being, we're going to hold back. We're going to see what we can do, and hopefully soon we could open. Because I believe, as I'm recording this weekend, would have been their opening weekend, and they usually kick it off with a Willy Wonka, as far as one of the movies for on the big screen that they have out there in the drive-in. But they decided, let's not do that. Let's hold off and see what happens as things progress, because this is all changing as we talk about it. You never know what's gonna transpire next, or what the next set of guidelines is gonna be. So people are saying just hold still, see what happens, and just keep checking out their social media, and hopefully you'll find out some information. But one of the things that I have to do, even before I get a chance to go out to the Mahoning, is they shot a documentary that was released back in 2017. Doug had mentioned it to me. I know he's mentioned it on the show a few times. So I'm going to plug it again, because I think you can watch it on Amazon Prime right now. I think I've seen it a couple times, but it probably on some of those other services. Hell, maybe even YouTube. You can probably just rent it from there. It's called At the Drive-In. And let's see, do they have a synopsis here? It says, unable to purchase a $50,000 digital projector, a group of film fanatics in rural Pennsylvania fight to keep a dying drive-in theater alive by screening only vintage 35mm film prints and working entirely for free. That's the beginning of the story of the Mahoning as we know it today. Again, this is from 2017. The documentary itself is an hour and 20 minutes. From what Doug is talking about it, what he's told me, what he's seen, how he's experienced it, it seems like a magical place to go check out. Just because you wouldn't think about it. You think, drive-in theaters, are those even a thing anymore? Yes, well, we've talked about it in the past, so we know about it. But I would like to try to support them. I think that they definitely deserve it. And this is me not even meeting anybody there, not even going there. Just through the stories and through the eyes of what Doug would tell me, I fully support this place. It sounds really cool. Doug picked me up a little present one of the times he went down there. One of the guys was selling Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, which is an old 70s made-for-TV movie involving the rock band Kiss, one of my favorites. Don't judge me. And he was able to pick it up, and it was just one of the many different things that you can do while you're there, because you can get there, watch the movies, you can hang out with people like-minded, as far as whatever film genre might be there, just the fact that you're at a drive-in, you want to get out, have some fun. But, you go to the concession stand, you buy your snacks, you buy your drinks, and occasionally they'll have vendors, and they'll have people that might show up in costume or cosplay to celebrate whatever theme that they have that weekend. Last year, I think they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I really, really wanted to take Jen out to. Unfortunately, we didn't have a chance to because it's a long drive. And at the time, we have, a small child. But people dressed up in costume. And I think one had a movie-accurate Raphael costume from the first Turtles movie. So, I mean, that's another thing that you can check out. I think Doug also had mentioned that for Killer Clowns from Outer Space, they had people dressed up as the clowns, and they had the big cocoon cotton candy, whatchamacallit, movie props. And that was just another thing. So it's something to check out. If you're interested, or if you need something to take up some time, watch At the Drive-In from 2017. Check it out. And I'm trying to think what else. Let's see. We've gone over games, streaming, television, movies. I know I got check out a bunch of different things. The nice thing about this, for me at least, is there's a backlog of different things that I have not had a chance to watch. And rather than go out there, full disclosure, everybody was going nuts over Tiger King on Netflix. And when I first heard of it, this is just my nerd or geek brain going over, like, Tiger King? You mean like the character from Tekken, the fighting game? No, this whole thing, Joe Exotic and everything else. I have not watched it. I don't have plans on watching it anytime soon. So all these memes and all these jokes that are going through social media, thankfully they're starting to die down a little bit. They were lost on me for the most part. I mean, I get the gist of it. I saw the trailer at the end of one of the movies that I watched on Netflix, and I thought to myself, oh, okay, well, that's weird. And once again, I don't jump on the bandwagon for a lot of different things. So when everybody started talking about all these characters that are portrayed in this Netflix documentary, I said to myself, there's a lot of things that I do want to watch, that movies or series that I fell behind on, things that I just want to catch up on. And thinking of watching this, the only way I can explain it from what I've heard, train wreck of a documentary, because again, people are saying, oh, we're not portrayed as we are in real life, things are exaggerated, once again, shocker, that this was something to watch and jump into, because everybody else was getting into. Maybe I'll watch it a year, 2 years from now. Maybe I'll watch it when the next, crisis hits, whether it be a natural disaster or another sickness. I don't have any plans to watch Tiger King, but that's just me. Who knows? Maybe you've watched it 2 or 3 times already. You're thinking to yourself, God damn, this is an amazing show. I did hear rumors of a possible second season. Okay, I mean, there's certain things that people like to watch. I'm watching Transformers in the background. I can watch that over and over again to my heart's content. So we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. There was another one, now that I think about it, on HBO. And why it caught my attention was, not only was this a little docuseries on HBO, but it also came with a podcast that would flesh out more of the details they did not cover on the show. It's called McMillions. If you're not familiar with this, bear with me here as I read the synopsis. A detailed account of the McDonald's Monopoly game. Everybody remembers that one, right? You'd peel off the little stickers on your drinks or your fries or your sandwich, and you would get, what was it, like Boardwalk, or you'd get Baltic Avenue, or you'd get the Railroad, whatever the case is, and you'd get a free French fry, a free Egg McMuffin, or a free large drink with the purchase of a combo, whatever the case was. This is the story of how that innocent little game was hijacked. A detailed account of the McDonald's Monopoly game scam during the 1990s is told by the participants in the case, including the prize winners and FBI agents involved. Now, that tells you right there that things did not go quite as planned for the Monopoly game for McDonald's. Quite simply, one of the winning game pieces would be valued at $1 million. And if you won that, you would grab the winning piece off your drink, your fries, whatever the case was. You would walk into the store and claim, hey, look, I got the winning game piece. They would take it to the back. They would make a phone call. They would verify it. They had means to verify the winning game piece. And then they would come out and have you sign some paperwork, and they would suddenly say, hey, look, here's a large check for $1 million. This is how a group of people somehow were able to manipulate and pick the winners themselves. The winners were handpicked. There was no chance. If you were ever walked into a McDonald's during the 90s and thinking to yourself, oh, I'm going to walk into this, I'm going to, get myself a large combo and everything's going to be great. This is my day. I feel I'm lucky. This is going to be my winning day. I'm going to walk out with $1 million. No, that was never going to be the case for winners in the 90s at that point in time. It starts off very, very simple, where they track down one of the winners. They do an interview with them, just try to get an idea of how they won the prize money, how they came about it, what has changed in their lives, and then it just starts to snowball. And it becomes this really, really intriguing story as it unfolds, because all the different players that are involved, it spreads like wildfire. And by the time you get to the end, it's only 6 episodes. And I was watching it as it was being released on HBO. This was back, actually a few months ago at this point, I think back in January maybe. And I was enthralled with it. I could not stop. I could not wait for the next one. I did not get a chance to get around to watching to the podcast, but it definitely caught my attention. It was weird to see the interviews, not with just with the prize winners, but also some of the FBI agents that were involved and how they managed to track down the different people that were involved in this elaborate scam. And like I said, if you get a chance, check it out. If not, check out the podcast. A lot of different people involved in that one. And that one will definitely take some time out of your day, or keep your mind off of certain things. Besides that, that's really it. I mean, that catches me up for the time being in terms of what I've done, what I've seen. I really haven't been able to get out of the house much, unless it's been for work or for essentials, as far as running to the store real fast because we ran out of milk or something like that, and you don't want to have to keep running back and forth, so you try to plan out trips. There's a lot of things you can do. If you're fortunate to have a front or backyard, you can go outside, walk around the neighborhood if it's early enough, if you have that luxury. If not, hopefully you can find a way to enjoy the outdoors without getting too close to somebody. I've been trying to take my bicycle out when it's not too crowded on the streets, and now, not like it is right now, but they're like midday or so, I'm noticing more and more people getting out because they are home, so they think, go out for a jog or go out for a walk. And I really just naturally try to avoid people. when stores weren't closed, I know Doug and I had a very similar preference as far as when we'd go to the store to shop for things. I'd like to go later in the evening or late at night, especially if a store was open 24/7, or further into the night, like closer to midnight or 1 in the morning. You can go in, walk around at your leisure, and not have to worry about walking around somebody, or somebody stuck in an aisle because they're browsing for something and they don't know quite what they're looking for. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I know he felt the same way, but you just wanted to get in and get out. Like, you have your preset plan, so to speak, your game plan. You walk in, you get what you need. You might swing by a certain aisle that you might like. I mean, granted, I'm an adult now, but I still like to go to the toy aisle. I like to check out to see what recent developments in toys have come out. Not just because I'm a father now and I have a child, but I like to look at the toys myself. So I'll look for the most recent superhero stuff. I'm like, hey, that's really cool. Hey, that's pretty neat. And then I'll put it back, or occasionally I might pick up something and say, hey, this looks really cool. But I have enough stuff as it is when it comes to collectibles, and I've now tried to be very what's the word I'm looking for? Very particular when it comes to buying a collectible that I'm going to bring home, because quite frankly, there's just not enough shelf space. There's not enough display area in the home that, after a while things start to run tight. I'm more likely trying to get rid of stuff now than trying to bring more stuff home. So that's just me, nobody else. I can't really think of anything else. So really, I'm going to open it up to everybody out there. If you have anything that you're watching currently in this pandemic, if it's a TV show or movie, or if it's something that you like, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if there's anything that you've seen that I've watched, what you might think of it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What's something that you might be into that you can share with us? If not, what have you done to try to, take up the time right now? I know Jen and I are currently trying to straighten up the house because we're awaiting the arrival of our second child. So we want to make sure that things are a little bit more straightened up for the time being. We're just trying to make sure that things just are in order, because one of the downsides of being home is that you can fall into the trap of just sitting around and letting the house start to fall into disarray. Like, you don't want to pass the vacuum. Like, I've got time, I'll do that later. Or, the trash can, you're like, I'll take the trash out tomorrow, and stuff like that. You're like, no. You got to remind yourself that you're if you're going to be staying at home for any length of time, and if you're one of the people that has the stay-at-home order enforced upon them, where you no longer are going to work, you are no longer employed or anything of that nature, stay home. Make sure that you try to tidy up a little bit. You're not going to have time like this, hopefully, again, for quite some time, unless, you run into unemployment or anything else like that down the line again. Just try to straighten yourself up a little bit. Get things done, get things taken care of. I'm not saying you have to dress up every day and, put on a pair of jeans and a dress shirt and then start cleaning. No, you're in your PJs. Just start doing things around the house, little by little. Take a few tasks here and there that help you get through this. And that's about it. I know for me, as I mentioned, a lot of the different things, even as I was talking about them, I'm talking a lot of things that fall into comfort zones, comfort areas that when I initially was doing them, I didn't realize. This show is one of them, obviously. I like to sit down and talk to everybody, and hopefully everybody enjoys this. But I also have been noticing that I'm going back to watching shows and movies from the 80s and 90s. So I get a chance to enjoy shows that I've seen before, or if, I had a didn't have a chance initially to watch them when they first were released, I have a chance to go back and watch them now. Some of the go-tos that I have, a lot of the Marvel movies, for me, that's more recent stuff. But when you go back and watch older films like Back to the Future, Monster Squad, some of the older James Bond films, stuff like that, films that I grew up with, Indiana Jones, The Goonies, some of the older Rocky movies, stuff that for me, I just, I had older brothers. So when they would watch certain films, I would get roped into watching them because they just happened to be on the TV or happened to be on during whatever party they were watching. So I get a chance to sit down and relax and take a bunch of things in. And now, being much older, I will go back and will catch them thanks to a lot of the different streaming channels. If not, just rent them off of iTunes, whatever the case is. I really haven't been renting off a bunch of iTunes, to be honest, though. Dan has been nice enough to, whenever he would bring over different films, whenever he would buy a Blu-ray, he'd bring it over. We'd watch it, and then he might, leave me the digital code. So now I have like a little quasi-library of digital movies that I could sit down and watch. One of the more recent ones that we watched before all this went down was the Jay and Silent Bob reboot movie, which, say what you will about Kevin Smith, if you've listened to this show, I'm a fan of his. As far as I'm concerned, the man's a genius, and it's amazing that he's able to come up with some of the ideas that he has, and just still, through hard work and perseverance, just still be out there pushing his brand and his humor. Jay and Silent Bob reboot, if you're not a fan of his, you're going to find very little to enjoy, maybe, because most of that film is fan service. And I say that in respect to the View Askew universe, all the way from Clerks, the black and white film, all the way to more recent films he's done. He throws little Easter eggs in there. He throws jokes. He throws callbacks. Hell, there's this one section of the movie during the third act where they essentially do a small love letter to Chasing Amy and gives you a, like, where are they now kind of retrospective, which is amazing because not only were they able to get Ben Affleck, which was a story in of itself, how they got him to join the project after years of he and Kevin Smith no longer really keeping in touch, not through like bad blood or anything. They just, everybody was busy doing their own thing and you drift apart. But Affleck came back to reprise his role from Chasing Amy, and you also had Joey Lauren Adams showed up, who at one point was Kevin Smith's girlfriend while they were doing, I don't know if it was Mallrats or one of the other ones. I would believe it was during Mallrats where they started dating, and it was just really, really interesting because you're like, oh wow, like everybody just got back together, returning characters, new characters, and it was really, really cool to see his daughter also take part in the entire affair. His wife and daughter, I should say, enjoy being in the movie. And just, it became it became a family business, essentially. Now, Kevin Smith has changed over the years. He's gone through a bunch of different things, most notably the heart attack that he suffered a couple of years back. But he just said, screw this. If I don't do this now, when am I going to do this? And he went back to doing that. And one of the things that I can say from seeing through social media is he sat down, and after a failed attempt at writing a sequel to Mallrats, because I remember at one point on social media he was getting a bunch of different people to confirm and post on social media that they were coming back from Mallrats 2, that using his time right now with stay at home or quarantine, is that he sat down and I believe he said he has written a first draft of what's being called Twilight of the Mallrats, which is quite interesting right now because with everything happening with businesses closing and the economy being what it is, malls were a dying breed to begin with. And if you remember back from the 80s and 90s, malls were, a booming industry or sector. Now, with everything going on, with people being able to shop online and big box stores, malls really aren't as popular. They're not thriving as much. And with this going on, one can only imagine. My mind in particular jumps to the Phillipsburg Mall here in Jersey. I've gone to that mall different times throughout the years, and that place has always seemed on the brink of closing down because a number of like anchor stores would always leave, or smaller stores would just be empty, and you just weren't sure, like, when is this place going to pick back up? And it was just an odd, I don't know if it was an odd location or an odd deal that was going on there. I don't know. I never really got the full story on that one. But with Kevin Smith having the time, he said, yeah, screw this. I'm going to write what I want to do now. So he did Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which was essentially a retread. It was not a retread. I shouldn't say that. It was almost satirizing the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Because essentially it is a reboot or retelling of that story, just updated. And they even have a joke as far as reboots or remakes. What's the difference? But with that being said, he also decided that, look, I did that one. And it felt like everybody who heard about my heart attack was willing to come out as a favor to help me out. And when it came time for this one, rather than wait, he's just going to go out and do it. So he figured, take the time, write some stuff down, have some fun. He's working on a bunch of other projects as well. There's a Masters of the Universe He-Man animated coming out on Netflix that he's attached to. But with all the other stuff that he's working on, he said, let me work on my stuff. Let me work on my thing because nobody can tell me no. And I'll release it the way I want to release it. He'll do another theater tour throughout the country like he did with Silent Bob, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which was fantastic. And it was great that he wrapped it up when he did, considering when this pandemic hit. Because I think he was wrapping up right around when everything started hitting the fan. And if things hopefully get quieter, even he was thinking of the idea of maybe taking Jay and Silent Bob Reboot on a drive-in tour. It'd be easy. I mean, again, you go out, you're already distancing because you're in your cars, whatever the case is. You bring your snacks, have some fun, pay your ticket price, and you can enjoy the film and maybe even stick around for a Q&A. That's really cool. That's another product of things that could come out of this. Now, there might be a bunch of different movies and TV shows. I know there's already porn, quarantine porn that's come out of this, which is quite disturbing. It's been mentioned on a bunch of different shows at this point. Neighbor sleeps with guy for toilet paper or neighbor sleeps for whatever the case is. It's girls with masks on and using the backdrop of the quarantine. Quite scary. But I'm sure there'll be TV shows, movies, um, a bunch of different things that are written about this time where they involve that same kind of backdrop, or that same kind of storytelling. I kind of think of John Carpenter's The Thing. Granted, it's a different extreme because it's an alien and it takes the shape of people and morphs and changes into different things, and it's quite gruesome and gory, but it's like that for me because when you think about it, when you're walking around, you're never sure who's quite infected. You're not sure who's sick or who's got it, who doesn't. And play it safe. Just stay home. You really can't get safer than that. If you stay at home, embrace your hobbies, embrace the things that you love, the things that you do. You know, play with your dog, watch some TV, do some laundry, whatever the case is. Just have fun and try to relax. I know people are like, oh, but you can only do that for so long. Look, the world is asking you to stay at home unless you're suffering, again, through financial hardship or something else is going on a little bit more dire. You're being asked to just be a couch potato for the time being. Do some crunches, do some push-ups. If you got some dumbbells, lift them while you can. Otherwise, stay home, relax, watch some fun stuff, and that's it. You know, try to pass the time in a very enjoyable manner. This whole thing sucks. There's no point in making it harder than it is. That's advice that was told to me when I was in a tough situation about a year back. If you're going to be in a shitty situation, try your best to make the most of it. And that's not saying that, you know, look on the bright side. No. Don't make it harder on yourself than it already is. Do your best to get through it. Find that light, find that positivity to try to pull you through each day. I know it's not easy. That's why we have each other to rely upon. That's why we have social media to reach out to friends. My advice for social media right now, if you're not using it to look up artwork or tutorials on things, if you're just going through scrolling for news bits, don't rely on social media. It gets really frustrating. It'll get your heart rate pumping. It'll get your blood pressure going through the roof just because of all the BS you have to just go through. You have to navigate to try to get to the actual facts. There's a lot of different things going on. Find things that'll make you smile. Find things that'll make you laugh. Find a movie or documentary. For me, I barely watch TV as it is. I watch a lot of YouTube now, which is kind of weird for me to say. I was a slave to cable TV for a long, long time. But now, here's a good example. There's a channel on YouTube called How Ridiculous. 3 guys from Australia who drop things from an observatory tower. So they'll climb up how many flights of stairs, and they'll drop a bowling ball. They'll drop a couch. They'll drop metal darts. They'll have a trampoline at the bottom sometimes, so they'll bounce off. They do slow motion replays. They take turns trying to do trick shots. It's an old channel at this point. They've been online for quite some time. And I remember watching them years ago, but I've been more enthralled with them now since I've been home. And I dare you not to watch an episode of How Ridiculous and not smile and laugh at just the camaraderie. It's 3 guys having fun, goofing around, making jokes at one another's expense from time to time, but they're just having fun. And it's amazing. It's amazing to see 3 guys just enjoying themselves, having a good time. They made a video channel. They do some awesome stuff. They have some awesome ideas, and they just do some ridiculous stunts. And I've gotten hooked, so much so that I subscribe to it, and I look forward to it every time they put up a new video. Some other stuff on YouTube that I'm subscribed to, 3D printing channels, only because Jen got a 3D printer a couple years back, and we're just trying to find different projects that we can do while we're home. Conan O'Brien is another thing you can watch online, and just watch a bunch of the different segments. Anything with Jordan Schlansky, his executive producer. My God, that guy's annoying, but in a funny fucking way. So I would recommend that one. On top of all the different interviews that he does with guests. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I'll watch a bunch of cartoon ones. If you're a Transformers fan like I am, there's a guy by the name of Chris McFeely. He does a series called The Basics, where every Saturday he releases a new episode of it's about 10 to 15 minutes usually, and he usually picks one character or one subject, and he does it in a complete deep dive on it. So if you want to know the history of Starscream, if you want to know the history of Optimus Prime, it doesn't just cover the US version of them. It covers the video games, the comic books, the Japanese versions. He'll give you everything from start to finish, what it comes down to, that you can ever hope to know about some of these characters and some forgotten characters here and there. There's a whole slew of them. I can't think of them off the top of my head. There's another one. Mark Rober, former NASA scientist or engineer, who decided that, rather than working for NASA for his entire life, started his own channel and starts doing different things. So he makes a super-sized Super Soaker just to play with his nieces and nephews. He, what was the other one he did recently? The glitter bomb for people who like to steal packages. If you order something from Amazon, you leave it on your porch, and somebody comes by and goes, "Hey, I want that," and they take it. You find out there's a little engine inside of it that spits out not only glitter to just litter their place wherever they open it, maybe their car or place of business, but also had a fart spray installed so that in intervals it would start to release this heinous smelling fart spray in the vicinity. And it would also have phones in the package so that you can use GPS tracking to retrieve the package itself and maybe teach some of these people a lesson. That was one of the funny ones. And he's got other science-based different videos on there that just, you'll learn something, you'll enjoy it. It's fun to watch. He's really a remarkable person. Mark Rober and How Ridiculous did have a crossover in videos where they were trying to build the world's strongest trampoline. That's one to watch as well. I'm trying to remember something else. Oh, and for anybody who is out there, again, looking for something to watch on Netflix, The Toys That Made Us is a little documentary series on different lines of action figures. They've done He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, wrestling figures, G.I. Joe, Barbie, Hello Kitty, Legos, Star Trek, just to name a few. Check those out. I think that's 2 or 3 seasons worth. That'll keep you busy. It's a lot of fun. Please support those guys. The same guys who did that also did The Movies That Made Us, where so far, I think they only did 1 season. They're trying to get more fan support for our 2nd season. Hopefully Netflix will greenlight it. So far, they covered Die Hard, Home Alone, Ghostbusters, and I'm trying to remember the 4th film. I'm going to blank off the top of my head. But, Dirty Dancing. And it's fun, again, to get a deep dive into those different film franchises or film movies, just to see the behind the scenes, how it worked, the chemistry, the directors, producers, all those different things, and get a different perspective on how it all got made. Because really, again, in the world of entertainment, it's amazing how anything gets made when you have so many different people working behind the scenes that sometimes can contradict one another. So The Movies That Made Us and The Toys That Made Us, another thing that you can check out. And then a bunch of different things on YouTube. So I think I've given you a lot of different options. If you haven't already found something to take up your time while you might be sitting at home, whether with family or by yourself, maybe some of these might help you out. Maybe this episode itself was enough to, take up some of your time while you're at home or doing something on the fly. If not, I don't know. Maybe I'll think of some other stuff. But again, if anybody has any suggestions on what you can do at your home, who knows? Maybe Sudoku will make a big comeback. But I will continue to try to crank these out on a weekly basis and hopefully get these out to everybody. And we'll go from there. So if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. We are the Rabblecast.